So, hey everyone, happy Friday. We'll get the intro and stuff going on in just a little bit, but in the meantime, just hi. I don't think you've ever been on the show before, have you, DB?
I have not.
Nice. Well, welcome. I have to say, I have watched at least a couple of your YouTube channel or whatever. I don't know if that's your primary channel, but whatever your videos there. And I think that they're significantly better than mine. So it's good to have you on the trash channel for once, right?
I I enjoy the editing side of it sometimes, so I probably spend far too much on it, and I think it takes away from the content sometimes. And you look, a lot of the really good videos are just talking head, people just talking to a camera, like the streams.
Yeah, for sure. Although I do think that I do need to up my, I have to up my production value game a little bit. And I mean, like one thing I'm going to redo my background at some point, like maybe next week. I got some floating shelves I need to put up and stuff. I have some good stuff on there, like obviously the 84 million podcast giving me the make money sound again hat, and then the Naomi Brockwell gave me some Vegemite because you know you have to have some of that, and Justin Bonds gave me that bottle of scotch up there that's now empty, and I got hijacking Bitcoin, of course, because you know free Roger, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's all a lot of good stuff, but on an ugly shelf I picked up off the side of the road for free, and I need to get something more professional going and stuff. So
It works, and you've seen Justin's streams, and he's just sitting against a white wall and sitting on a big black chair. So you
yeah,
don't have to have anything fancy all the time.
and the thing is, it works. Like for me, I kind of I don't know who and whose content becomes popular is just not something I have figured out. You know, I figure I'm doing fine. I no complaints from my end. I think I'm fine. But like, just it's funny to me how some people go really like their stuff just takes off, and then other people doesn't. And I have not found the rhyme or reason really. I just do what works best for me, and then there we go.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to figure out. It's ever read the book Tipping Point? It kind of talks about
Yeah,
that type of stuff.
yeah. It's definitely you know I'm sure there are some people that have like a better science behind it or whatever, but like I think a lot of times you just have to try everything and then let the people fail who fail, and then you know whatever.
Yep.
But I mean, I do make a small income off the podcast, and so as long as someone pays me for it, I'm satisfied. It doesn't have to be a ton. You know, I'm just like, all right, that's
You're
good
already
enough for
ahead
me.
of 99% of people then, because I don't think
Yeah,
most make a dime off of it.
yeah, that's true. It's not a living yet, but you know,
But
then
yeah.
again, I have other stuff I got to be actually doing. Anyway, let me just roll the intro real quick, and then we'll get into this stuff. We got a lot of fun stuff to talk about. All right, three, two, one, go. All right. So, hey everyone, officially welcome. This is the Digital Cash Rundown, episode 205. Means 205 plus weeks in a row I've been doing this. I think it was somewhere around summer of 2020 when I started doing the live show. I started the channel earlier in that year, and then kind of going ever since. Yeah, I'm joined by the one and only that I know of, DBCrypto. How's it going, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. That's commitment too. 205 straight weeks. Nice.
Yeah. I mean, it's also been I can't remember. It's been like easily 8, 9 plus years that I've just worked from home with no set schedule kind of thing, and it helps having structure in my life. Like now that I do, the last couple of years I've been doing a lot of like biz dev type work for Dash, and that has like a lot of scheduled calls during the week, and that plus the spaces schedule keeps me more centered. But for a while, this was my anchor of the week to like make sure I pretend like I'm a real person, like get out of my jams, all that stuff.
Yeah, I hear you. Sometimes you need some of that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. It's so we're going to go into a bunch of fun stuff. The two fun things that happened this week, of course, were like the alt season the beginnings of alt season, more on the privacy side, but then also as of just today and yesterday, I kind of noticed a lot of like, drama in the MultiversX side of things. And I guess we'll get into that stuff because that is something that is very fascinating to me. I love economic discussions, and I love, and from everything that I've heard, I'm a very distant but otherwise fan of MultiversX, and having like two sides of things is always fun, where you have like happy stuff to talk about and not happy stuff to talk about, and then you kind of get a fuller picture. It's kind of funner. But let me get the shilling out of the way first, because I was very, very proudly sponsored by Coin ATM Radar. When buying crypto with cash, an ATM is much more reliable and safer than meeting some random person in a random place and getting whapped on the head like that poor dude in Singapore just today. Oof. And unlike an exchange which could freeze your account, you truly own all the crypto that you buy. With Coin ATM Radar, you can find crypto ATMs and other services where you can buy or sell cryptocurrencies for cash. And on their website, you can search by coin, address, if the ATM supports selling as well as buying. And you can also search by geographical area. And you can also check and compare actual current fees at different ATMs. So if you do want to find out more, go to coinatmradar.com, which is COINATMRADAR.com, which is COM for the people who've been under a rock for like 5 decades. Anyway, have you noticed? Do you know if some of the more modern chain, like, are there any Solana ATMs? Are there any like, MultiversX? Do those coins have any presence on crypto ATMs that you know of, or is it mostly just like the OG kind of like Bitcoin, Litecoin, Dogecoin, Dash, Monero, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, not that I'm aware of. I think it might still be the OGs.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna.
But I don't know. It's everything's evolving quickly. It's hard to. You mentioned something about a guy in Singapore getting something this morning. I missed that.
Sorry, that was. I do, for the sake of like my own sanity, do try to put something funny or spicy into the ad read or whatever. Let me find the thing. There was some dude who got. Here, I have it pulled up on the screen, or I'm going to pull it up on the screen. I'm going to DM it to you as well, just so you can see it, because it is wild.
Never a boring day in crypto and Web3.
Yeah, and it's always these big conferences that I don't go to, that I have FOMO about, that something like that happens. So I'm going to put that up on the screen real quick.
Ouch.
Yes. This fellow, Nate, says, consider myself a seasoned traveler. Just remember waking up in a hospital. Very scary. Must have gotten jumped walking home. Passport and ring gone. Be careful out there at token 2049. And he has a big old lumped up face and some blood and stuff, which is crazy. Now,
we were just talking about this yesterday. Crazy.
You were talking about the conference or being
no,
attacked?
you and I in the space about the security.
Oh yeah, the wrench attacks.
All the multiple levels of security around this space.
Yeah, and I would like to at some point look into this individual case and see if this poor gentleman did something like, I don't know, like why was he a target? Because it does seem a little crazy to me that happened, because Singapore is known for, they'll beat your ass for having gum. Like,
yeah.
I wonder if this person, the attacker, could like made it out. Like, Singapore seems like it's pretty locked down in terms of crime. Like, I think that if someone's committing a random act of violent crime and theft, I think this person, from my understanding of how Singapore operates, is probably going to get caught. But anyway, just it's a thing that these big a lot of people are saying the same thing. I don't remember if it was this year or last year, but it was some crypto conference in Belgium. It was some Brussels crypto conference that was big, and a lot of people kept on doing stories about getting robbed and stuff. So I just miss those ones, right? I go to the smaller ones that are, not everyone there. I had a great time, for example, at Crypto Basel in Switzerland, which was like 80 to 100 people as attendees in like Switzerland, so like super safe. But every time I go to the big ones, like I guess like Vegas, like the Bitcoin one there and Consensus, maybe I just have, I don't know, maybe I just have my guard up more there or something. But I've never felt in danger at those big ones.
You almost need to have your guard ups with everything we're hearing and seeing going on. And it seems like people are going to start focusing on these conferences because they know uh, people are walking around. It's almost like walking around with the equivalent of thousands of dollars in cash in your wallet.
Mm-hmm.
If we see these people, I don't know how many times it's happened now. Someone gets kidnapped or beaten or something, and it's wild.
Yeah. By the way, Folagi Johnson said, listening from New Zealand. Oh, hi, bro. Good having you there. What time has it got to be there in Kiwistan? It's got to be like, no, I guess it's morning, right? Because it's like over 12 hours. So if it's like 3 p.m. my time, it's got to be like 6, 8 p.m., 8, something like that. I think it was 5. I did have a Kiwi friend who was on the podcast before, and he got on that. He woke up at like 5 or 4:30 to come on my show, which is like, not, it's crazy. It's a little crazy commitment.
Dedication.
There, yeah. Yeah. So, hope this Nate fellow gets better and is able to recover some stuff. If someone steals my wallet, I'm not going to get much, let's be honest. Like, what do I have? Like $8 in USD that I just have because I didn't get rid of it yet, So anyway, at least I don't have a ledger around my neck, like those ads. I don't know if you remember those before.
Yeah, well, all these events, a lot of them have lanyards, so it's like you're walking around with a sign around your neck saying, "Hey, I'm a crypto holder, crypto user. Come get me." And you could see he was wearing his straight out of the hospital still.
Well, I that is true because I do when I like if I'm at a conference and I duck out right next to it to go to like a coffee shop that's like right there, I will usually keep it on. But whenever I'm like actually leaving, like going like more than a block from the place, I always take the lanyard off. Like I'm not in public transit or on an elevator with the thing on. And maybe that's maybe someone was thinking of beating my ass, but then it just didn't happen. But yeah, that is pretty crazy. Well, let's get to this whole like alt season thing first before we dive into the fun drama stuff. Big drama show. So I scheduled this space on Monday, I think, and announced it about like, is alt season coming? And then Wednesday we had some pop off action with some of these coins, and then the space took place Thursday. Yesterday we talked on that, and it's a good time. But anyway, I'm just putting up this. Ryan Sean Adams did a post of like the Zcash price chart, because Zcash was like 30 or 40 USD or something very in that range, and now it went past like 130 to like 140. So there's a pretty massive pump in the last few days. He said, cheering Zcash on because it's a great project with crypto values and a team that persisted over the long term. No shortcuts. Great to see it catch a bid recently. Yeah, so I'm sure you saw like the Zcash stuff pop off, and a few others as well. First, have you noticed, does it represent kind of a alt season type thing? Or is it more, you seeing it more as like an isolated, like privacy focused asset pump?
I'd say more the latter. And it doesn't, at least if it's the start of an alt season, it's nothing like what we've seen previously. And we haven't really seen the 2x, 5x, 10x, or just the massive candles that we've seen in previous cycles yet, except for a handful of these privacy coins. So not yet. I still think it's coming, hopefully. Maybe not like we've experienced in the past, but I still think there will be a liquidity flow into the smaller caps, mid caps.
Yeah, of course. And one of the funniest things to see, because like a lot of coins have pumped over the last, not a lot, but there have been a few. I don't know. I think Dash topped out as like a 68% pump in this last few days. Wasn't quite Zcash level, but it was at least like a welcome change, right? But Zcash has been like the God candle version of that. And one thing that's been funny to see, because as far as I've been able to see, Monero did pretty well this last week as well, like some decent price gains on there. But the community has been very, very, very upset at the Zcash performance, and been kind of posting an overdrive FUD and overdrive everywhere, and it's interesting to watch. And Monero had a mining attack with some like 51%, like some reorganizations, transactions reversed, and stuff like that in the last month or so, and perpetrated, I guess, by this Cubic, other project that's been sort of mining on their chain. And one person in particular, I remember when the pump happened Wednesday, he just said, "This is worse than the Cubic attack." It's just like, what the hell, dude? Like, you get your pump too. Like, this isn't that bad.
Yeah, wild space. That was already a few weeks ago, the Cubic attack or takeover, wasn't it?
Yeah, it happened over the course of like a month, I think, sporadically. And then after they finally did like a 19 block reorg, I think, they invalidated somewhere in 118 or 19 transactions as kind of the send off. And then they just, because like a 20 block reorg would be like 40 minutes, I think, right? Because it's 2 minutes per Monero block. So not good, but like that was the first time they actually reversed transactions explicitly. And then they just went off and they're talking about doing something to Dogecoin next. I'm like, okay, well, more power to you. But they kind of like, the problem wasn't fixed. They just like, the attacker just sort of moved on to other things. And, yep. It's something that I hope gets fixed in the protocol. But yeah, it's kind of funny how quickly we forget things like that. Like the news cycle just is so fast in this space.
Oh, for sure. Well, we have so much popping up nonstop. But yeah, memories are very, very short in this space. That is for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, Fulagi clarified it's like 8:15 a.m. in New Zealand, his part of the world. So that's good. It's better than I thought. I thought he was up at the crack of dawn, you know? But yeah, I'm putting up on the screen this other post by, I don't know who the hell, some guy that's talking about how alt season isn't coming. He thinks it's not coming. And he says big difference is that Bitcoin hit the all-time high before the halving. There's no broad altcoin rally. And the old flow has broken that was used to be Bitcoin to major to small caps. And he says it doesn't do that anymore. ETH didn't lead the alt season. Old alts say dead, blah, 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 this kind of stuff. What's your general take on the way alt season are like? You mentioned you think we're going to get one, but what do you think about how that looks, I guess?
Yeah, that's the big question. I'd say probably not like what we've seen in the past where everything just pumps like crazy. And for one, we've got, geez, how many tokens are there? What do they say? Over 2 million or something at this point. Like actually trackable active tokens, not, I know that's what Solana creates in a week, but real tokens. Well, if you want to call them real, but it's 10x or 50x what there was previous cycle. So it's not going to be like it was before. I could definitely see it still flowing into maybe the top 50, top 100, and a lot of those starting to get a little bit more attention. Possibly even further down, depending on, hopefully we'll see some utility season actually come out of the space a little bit. It's hard to say, but yeah, I don't think it's going to be any blow off top craziness like a lot of people are expecting, because a lot of the liquidity is tied up in these institutions, ETFs, and it's not like previous cycles where you hold BTC until it peaks. You sell a little bit, and then you go pump it into Solana and Cardano and everything else. The money is kind of tied up in these ETFs, a lot of it that's been coming into the space.
Yeah, like the retail money has been like straight in there. Yeah, I've noticed like before Bitcoin was the on ramp and the off ramp for crypto and like the early days, like 10 years ago. And then it sort of like stables became kind of a little bit of that. Now it's easier than ever to go right into whatever crypto you want. But a lot of the retail money that had to figure out how to buy something on Coinbase before now is just like, I'll buy an ETF or I'll buy some MicroStrategy or whatever. And so the flows aren't there anymore. The flows are completely different. It's much, I wouldn't say like flows between assets are like not a thing anymore, but it does seem to be more direct in terms of like, if you want to gamble on meme coins, you buy Solana in like the Phantom wallet or whatever, and then it just goes from Solana in and out of these tokens there. And if you're a boomer, you buy an ETF or whatever, do that stuff, and it's like fiat right into the ETF, and it only shows up in Bitcoin demand when a new company has to like start an ETF and like buy a bunch of extra Bitcoin to custody, and then like the other coins are their own flows. Monero has been doing, I should say, at least well, if not very well, I would say, despite all of these delistings and stuff that have happened. And I know a guy I know, Douglas, who runs Monero Talk, was kind of complaining about how hard it is to get for normies to get into Monero compared to other cryptocurrencies. Despite that, the money's come from somewhere, Someone has found a flow into that. And so it is just interesting how it used to be like fiat into Bitcoin, Bitcoin into alts, and then back out and alts, and that flow is just not the same anymore. It's just all over the place in different ways.
Yeah, and we had the kind of the random meme coin cycle. What was that, maybe about a year ago at this point, when maybe a little less, when Pump was just doing insane volume, and there'd be a new $1 billion meme coin every single day almost. And I think a lot of that turned retail off. And that kind of hurt, I think, any retail adoption we might get in the near future or an altcoin cycle. I think that took a lot of the liquidity out.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like, I think FTX last time took a lot of, like, if we go way back to like 2013, I don't think Mt. Gox really, it did damage, but I don't think it took any segment of the user population out of crypto. I think the same people who are in Gox are just going to come back in. And I feel like, what was a 2017 crash? I don't remember what happened after 2017. What was the thing that popped? I don't even remember. But if there just tends to be with the bear cycle, it kicks it off. And then the 2021 one, right, was FTX, just wiped everything out. And FTX was the one that started to get like normie retail adoption. And then I think I kind of feel like a lot of those people never came back. And I have some
and
people
I think,
who, yeah.
Wasn't it even Luna before FTX? Luna, FTX, Celsius, Voyager, we had all those hit in the same year. That was a rough year.
Yeah, it was the reason I say FTX is because that was sort of it was a catalyst, because it was really like Three Arrows Capital that I think blew up first. And then that had a knock-on effect on everything, including FTX.
Yeah.
And it also like Voyager got like wiped out as part of that. And then all those things hit around the same time as Luna, but there was also a lot of Luna tied up in those as well, to where so it's kind of the same instance. It's just kind of like saying, I can't even think about like, it's kind of like differentiating the Iraq and Afghanistan invasions of the early 2000s of like, no, well, that was different. It's like, well, sort of, but it was all part of the same deal, the war on terror, right? That whole deal.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that vibe. And just about as much carnage too, as far as
that.
But
yeah, that was a rough year.
Yeah. Do you know anyone in that space, by the way, who came in? Do you know any retail people, like family and friends, that came in there that are still out of crypto, kind of?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's why I'm kind of so vocal about a lot of it, either because of those events or due to security. Maybe they got
Yeah.
drained for whatever reason it might be, or meme coins. I had at least one friend who came in for meme coins, lost everything
Mm-hmm.
because his one buddy just got lucky, and he thought he'd hit it rich too. So yeah, it's and family members too. There's a lot that leave and have no interest in coming back anytime soon.
Yeah, I think that really hit with a lot of the FTX stuff. I think that the meme coin stuff is much more of a younger person thing, like not just late 20s, early 30s kind of, but like kids. I know because my youngest sister-in-law, who at the time was like early, like 23 or something like that, was like, "Hey, have you heard about Solana?" And because she knew I was in crypto, and I was just like, "What is it?" And then she's like, "Oh, well, like one of my friend's boyfriends like does stuff that," and I'm like, if he's like a Solana developer, that's actually pretty cool, I guess. But I'm doubting that's the case. It's like, oh yeah, he's into like meme coins. He's like a trader. He doesn't have a job. I'm like, okay, okay. Well,
Yep.
just so you know, the other day I was talking to a company that does a lot of Telegram trading bots and stuff that is highly used in meme coins, and he sort of walked me through because I'm sort of a newbie at all that. I'm not a meme guy, but the whole like pumped up fun timeline, and it was just crazy to see because first he's like, all right, so you go click here and then you just like launch your thing. It's just already done for you. It's just like 2 clicks and you're done. And then there's a stream. He says, oh, look at this. He says, and I'll just show you how it works for the bot. Like, let's which one? Let's do this one because the guy who's live streaming now, he's asleep. He's on the couch asleep. You can just see this guy on the couch asleep. And it says, and people are pumping his coin right now because they know he's asleep and he can't dump on them. And you're like, okay. And so then he's like, oh, let me just pick this random coin. So he buys it. And then he says, all right, I'm going to move it to here. And then now I'm going to do the thing, buy coin. Click. I have it. Okay, now this is the command I use to sell it. Boom. And he sells it. He says, oh, I made 4% profit. Okay. And I'm just like, that was like in the space of 20 seconds that he's just showing me how this thing works. And I'm just like, this is nuts. This is a nuts world. Like I'm way too old for that. I can't even fathom it,
Yeah, there's a lot of money to be made in it, especially for those that have the bots and that can, the ones that also spin up the coins, obviously. And I think Zach XBT at one point put together, I don't know, with all the homework that he does, showed how a group of, 3 to 5 wallets created over 1,000 of the meme coins. They launch one, they have their friends and whatever pump it up while they hold 80% of the supply. They dump it, rinse and repeat, and they rake in the cash doing that, and it's all anonymous, unregulated, and that's a space. But yeah, there's money to be made if you are quick or if you're an insider. I think that's probably the most important part, being an insider.
Yeah. I kind of like the idea of like a 50-50 like raffle or like a flip kind of thing, like kind of Satoshi Dice style thing. To me is not that dubious because people have fun over the long period of time. They do lose money, but they could get lucky, they could not, and they're having fun. They don't care. I don't have a problem with that much. It's when people think they're playing a fun meme coin thing and they have a good chance at playing the trading game, and it's like the sniper bots are already stacked against them that they're just gonna snipe it up real quick, and then they buy an inflated thing, and then the guy just rugs them at the top. I don't know. I mean, I think that's a lot of buyer beware stuff, but I can still complain about it.
Yeah, I used to get involved in it a little bit back in the BSC days. I think when meme coins were pretty big. I don't know if that was 2020, 2019, but it's stressful too, because if you're really active on it, you're watching the chart, you're on the 1 minute chart or 15-second chart or something, refreshing it or watching it nonstop, because that's how quickly these move. And it's just, it's not something I wanted to, I decided to shift to more of the long-term relax and chill type investments after that.
Yeah, and that makes perfect sense. I have to say that I do sort of like that this kind of stuff will does push tech forward. It's kind of like how like VHS and everything like that got, and all that got really moved by like the adult industry, and like I don't really have any interest in the industry, but I do like the knock on technical effects. And so, for example, like if you can have a trading system, right, a DEX that can actually work in those like millisecond increments and stuff, like I think that's the technology necessary to do that. I think is really cool that you develop that, even if it's for the dumbest of reasons. But it could be, what can I say? It's fun to have, right?
Yep. That's where we're at right now. That's Web3 in a nutshell.
Yeah, and the way I pay most of my like utility bills and stuff today is through a company called Spritz, which was founded because the founder was playing around with DeFi and had annoyances trying to off ramp that into real life. And so he's like, why don't I just create a company that just lets you pay your bill straight from your crypto? And I'm like, okay, so now this is helping me live all in crypto easier. This is great, even though I have no interest in all that crazy stuff over there. And it's like, okay, well, it makes the world go round,
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. You're still part of the very tiny minority that actually uses it and lives off of it.
Yeah, the beta tester extraordinaire, I should say. I get to use all the weird broken tech before the rest of you get it when it's good. And that's just kind of the way things we shake out. Well, let's dive into this economic proposal thing, because I think it's kind of pretty fascinating, and I'm sure you've looked into it a lot more than I have. So this is for MultiversX, and it's essentially an economic issuance change. I've scrolled through this thing. I saw this chart here, which is kind of does this summary of everything, right? Where it says the legacy model had a capped supply of 31.4 million. Evolved model had a tail of inflation and burn mechanism. Legacy model had finite security budget, ends with issuance. Perpetual now, it was the value curve rule was passive scarcity versus active buyback and burn of base fees. And then before was the general grants and 30% of royalties for processing fees, goes to 90% transaction revenue share for developers, and ecosystem growth fund for builders, growth demand for users, and long-term instead of deflationary, it's now demand-driven, deflation driven by network usage. There's a lot to unpack there. As someone who knows more about this than I do you want to give your basic outline of what they're proposing?
Sure. And I still haven't even had time to go through it all, because the proposal, and I should say that it's not really a proposal. It's something that the team had put together to begin discussions. So it's nothing formalized, really nothing that's going to a vote at this point. Obviously, they put a lot of time and effort into what they have here, but it's also crazy long. It covers much more than just the inflation and the tail burn and the kind of bullet points that you just went over. I think it's how long is the document? It's 29 pages, the actual proposal.
Yeah.
So it's no joke. It's a long read. I haven't even gotten through like actually reading the whole thing, probably more than half of it. And it's one of those things that you got to read 2 or 3 times, because so much is changing. And it was just given to the community 6 hours ago, maybe. And then immediately after, they had a couple live streams where they kind of discussed it. Then they had a space with Justin, who shared some of his thoughts and feedback after just glancing at it briefly as well. But it's going to be an evolving thing, I think, or at least I hope. because the community has some very strong feedback on it, and understandably so, because it's a big change for sure.
Yeah. So before the, I'm not like super familiar with all the details, but it sounds like before there was a 31.4 million total supply cap, reducing inflation over every year or whatever the interval was, and then transaction fees were, they used to be what, 100% to validators, or how did that, is that the way it was before, or it right now, I guess?
So it was so 30% of it went to developers. So that's what's changing, or that's what they're proposing. I think to 90% of transaction revenue to go to developers, with 10% to go to the burn model of the inflation plus burn.
And anything to
And
validators under the new model that you know of?
yeah, so the inflation that they're changing it to, or
Okay,
that
yeah.
they proposed, because initially it was set at a cap supply of 31 points for a pie. Basically, they went with that million, and now they're proposing to change it to a 9.47% inflation rate.
This is pretty healthy well, I won't say healthy, but it's pretty decent. It's like a healthy portion of food, healthy, you know?
It's a hefty number for sure. I know they're getting a lot of pushback on that, especially with the 10% burn, which is pretty small. I haven't had time to run through the numbers yet to see how much activity would need to be on chain in order for that 10% burn to outweigh that inflation and bring it to like a moderate level of, say, 1.5%, 2%. But it has to be just astronomical. And I wish I would have had more time to do it. It's got to be millions of TPS in order to make it not crazy inflationary, which I know is one thing Justin was definitely pushing back on, because so Solana, for example, I think their current inflation is 4.5%, and they burn 50% of gas fees, and they still print 70,000 tokens a day, the roughly $17 million worth a day.
So with Solana, that percentage, is that just present inflation, or is that the tail emission? Is that like the way it will be forever?
Yeah, that's just present. It'll continue to decrease, I think, for the next 3 or 4, maybe 5 years. It's gonna, and then it stops. I think it settles at 1.5%. But when you're also talking about a protocol that's worth 130 billion, 1.5% is still a decent amount of inflation. But right now it's really high. They're inflating over 4.5 billion in tokens every year.
Yeah. Do you remember what the MultiversX one was or it is currently? Like, what's the current inflation rate? Like, I know obviously it's a permanent hard cap at some point as so far, but yeah.
Yeah. Right now I think it's around 6.4% maybe. But you're also talking about a network that has a 380, maybe $400 million market cap. So daily inflation still it's nothing tiny, but compared to something with a much larger market cap, it seems tiny.
Yeah. So this, the interesting part is like the fees going to the dev fund kind of thing. So do you know where? Is it just a specific fund for specific developers, like a foundation or something like that? Or is it going to some sort of a DAO that there's a vote on how the allocation goes? Or like how does that end up getting distributed right now that you know of?
Yeah, so the way I understand it is it actually goes directly to the smart contract builders. So it's just they keep the fees, which I see. And right now there's 30%. Near also has the same model where 30% of fees goes to smart contract developers. So it's supposed to be a way to kind of bring in or incentivize developers to come in.
Yeah.
Because
how do they determine who's a developer? Is it like, is it to all deployed smart contracts? Is it to some separate fund for people? Like, how is that that allocated?
It's just whatever spent on utilizing that your smart contract. So if you
Okay,
build
it's like a
a
refund.
DEX, kind of, yeah. If you have the number one DEX on the chain and it has millions of transactions a day, you're getting 30% of those fees because you created that smart contract.
Interesting. Yeah, that's I think that sounds good, right? That sounds.
It's, yeah, 30% is a decent level. It's something that I don't think has had any success bringing people in. I don't know. It's maybe not enticing enough. Maybe it hasn't been marketed well enough. I probably more so the latter. But Near has really, they have the same model. I don't think it's really been super successful for them. And this new proposal is to take it to 90%, which is obviously very, very high, which I get the idea behind, because developers are going to lead the space, in my opinion. We need more developers. We need more utility use cases, and that's what's going to bring in users. So if it works out, and if you can show a model that says, hey, come build this app on our chain, and if you get this many transactions a day on it, this much usage, here's how much you make just from having your app on our chain. So I understand the idea behind it, but there's also a lot of, I don't know, some not so great things. And whether or not it's going to work is another thing. I don't know.
Yeah, of course. If you could pick the ratio, right? So like 30% now, it's proposed to 90%. I mean, obviously, it's not something you have to be pinned down on or anything, but just from off the top of your head, what do you think a good number would be for that? I'm thinking either, to my mind, 30% sounds good personally, because if it's 30 to them, 70 to validators, that makes sense, because your validators run the network, keep the whole thing going, and then the actual things built on it get a good percentage. To me, that split makes sense, or maybe a 50-50 split makes sense. What do you think off the top of your head?
Yeah, that's tough, and I still don't think there's a right model. And part of we're so early in the space
Oh, yeah.
that
Ding,
we're
ding, ding.
constantly learning we're learning what works, what doesn't work. And I've said it before, I wouldn't be totally surprised to see everything change in 5 to 10 years. And there's a better model. So that's why while this one is totally wild and out of left field, I'm not discounting it right off the bat. But there's a lot of kind of interesting things, red flags. And another thing to mention is, since 90% is projected to go to developers and 10% earned, that leaves nothing for validators. And what they're planning for that is priority fees. 100% of priority fees would go to validators.
So
Now,
that's like to prioritize transactions.
yes, yeah, but Justin poked a massive hole through that this morning by pointing out that it's a sharded network. You should never, the network is able to grow with demand. So you should never really have a need for a lot of priority fees, because you're not going to be
Yeah.
fighting to get your transaction through. If you need more throughput, you just add another shard.
Yeah, and then sharding does have a small latency effect, but nothing major, right? To where you wouldn't need to be ahead in the shard, kind of, because it's like you're talking like milliseconds or seconds, but like not 10 plus seconds. It's like not a lot of actual things.
Yeah, nothing like Solana, where priority fees make a big chunk of their revenue.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Yeah, it's an interesting design for sure. I don't like the pivot, I don't think, in general. So first of all, like the inflation rate is at like a permanent 9 point whatever percent. That seems to be the thing that the most of the controversy is on. Especially, let me just see if it's that time to bring up that Vinny post. Yeah, he complains about a different aspect of that, but the 9.4%. To me, that sounds like that's a lot worse than like the dollar, right? Most year depends on the year, depends how transparent they're being with the inflation. I know during COVID it was worse, but like that seems like a don't hold this asset kind of a thing, you know. So
Yeah.
at least that's my gut reaction. I don't know if you agree on that.
Yeah, I'm still, like I said, I'm still trying to digest all of it. When we
Mm-hmm.
first discussed it this morning, for some reason, I assumed that it was going to be 9.47% with a declining rate over a period of years, just like a brand new
Mm-hmm.
tokenomics would be.
Yeah,
So
of
it'd
course.
be 8% the next year and 6.5 after that or whatever. But from what I'm understanding now, it's a set 9.47 with only a 10% projected to go to burn, which I don't think is even possible. I don't even think it's something that should be considered now that I think about it more, because the amount of activity the chain would need to offset that amount of inflation from just a 10% burn, it's astronomical. I can't even imagine the hundreds of thousands of TPS that would probably be needed in order to bring that to a a decent level.
Yeah. And so the pressure of that would fall on non-staking holders, right? Because if you are a validator or you're staking or whatever, then you're getting the dilution back. Like you're you're paying your own paycheck to a certain extent, right? Because you're whatever you're staking is going down in value because it's being diluted, but it's also paid back to you. So you're fine. But it's the people who don't have anything staked. They're just like, don't touch that stuff. It's going to zero at this rate or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of interesting. It seems like my analysis of the way they've, just like my gut reaction, I should say, analysis sounds so arrogant for the amount of looking into this I've done. So I'm not gonna. I take back that word. But it seems like there has not been enough incentive for builders and there's not enough stuff going on chain, I would say, based on the reaction to it. And so they're trying to be like, look, let's crank it up to this much so it's the most builder friendly ecosystem in the world, or at least you can advertise it as such, to get a lot more builders. And you just took all that revenue away from validators who run the network. So then you just like put it back in the back end through this inflation rate kind of thing. It seems like that's kind of what it is. It's like a inflate everyone sort of to pay for something, to pay to validators because you just took away all validators' money to give to incentivize new builders, so you had to pay them somehow. That's kind of the way it looks to me.
I guess again, I don't want to misspeak
Mm-hmm.
because I'm still not fully understanding of how it was designed, even though I've listened to the team kind of discuss it a couple times now. But I believe a large part of it is in order to attract new investors too. They want to
Mm-hmm.
start attracting ETFs and DATs, and in order to do that, I guess I think these big institutions, they want to know that they can earn a yield.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that might come into play, or how they chose this 9.47% inflation to help attract some of these big investors. But how that's going to play out long term, I'm not really sure. And that's honestly that's not even a quarter of the entire proposal, the APR change. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot more that's gone into this, including uh, which again, I still need to read it over, but just straight up minting of millions of new tokens.
Yeah. Is there anything of that outside of the inflation change? Like, is it just that they're minting millions anew through this, or they want to, I should say, through this 9.4% inflation, or is there like also some lump sum creation out of nowhere as well. Just to make it clear, because I haven't read that far.
Yes, it's a lump sum from what I'm understanding. I'm trying to find it right now. It's no,
Yeah.
that's not it. But it when certain milestones are hit, it basically looking to raise capital. And I think if I can recall, the first one was oh, here it is, reflexive strategy. It's I think it was part 4 on the full proposal. And so they're looking to I don't know, onboard a DAT or start a DAT. I'm not really sure. And once EGLD crosses $20, which right now it's around, I don't know, 14.50 ish. It according to this, and I don't know, it says they're going to mint $100 million worth of tokens, and it will be locked for 3 years and used for a DAT, which
Interesting.
that's what 5 million new tokens. But and then I don't know if you're looking at this part of it, because there's
Yeah, I'm
3
looking
different.
at the image there, the milestone 1, 3,
Yeah.
and 2. I don't know why they it bothers my like, my brush with the autism to see like in out of order like that. I'm like, oh my gosh, why is it 1, 3, and 2 instead of 1, 2, 3?
Oh, I didn't even realize that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's sorry. I'm very disturbed by that. But so yeah, 1 is like if you get to 20, if you get to $20 per EGLD, then you get 100 million minted that goes to this DAT. So 100% will be used for the execution of the strategic demand side, that deal. And then crossing 35 will be MVX Labs US LLC. It's for funding rounds, deployed funds for US, a bunch of other stuff. And then institutional ETF is number 3/2, whatever you want to call it. Interesting. Like
Yes.
I never heard of anything like this before, to be honest. It's interesting.
Yeah, and I'm still a lot of it is still unclear exactly. And crossing $20 EGLD, I guess I don't know what that means exactly. I mean, just there's no option of doing it until it goes above 20, or maybe they don't do it until it hits 25 or 30, or maybe it's just an option. I'm not too sure, especially also 100% of the minted tranche to be used for a DAT deal. I have no idea what that means, who's in control of it, who these tokens are going to. Now, I know some of this stuff is probably explained in the 29-page proposal.
Yeah.
But it's I don't know, it's a lot to swallow. And I will also say that I almost think it's out of necessity, which is why I'm not part of the crowd that is throwing shit right now and like dumping my entire bag, because I know the backstory and the history of this chain, and it is one of the most technologically advanced chains in the world. It's a powerhouse what they built, and they only raised $5.15 million initially, and that's compared to chains like Avalanche that raised 600 million, Near 500 million, Sui, Solana 360 million. So it's a pay to win